Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please be seated. Jared, please take roll.
Ms. Bennett. Mr. Betkowski. Here. Mr. DeMarco. Mr. Dewar. Here. Ms. Filiaggi. Mr. Fatulis.
Here.
Ms. Hallam. Mr. Klein.
Here.
Mr. Macy.
Here.
Ms. Nacarati-Chapkus. Mr. Palmieri.
Here.
Mr. Paul Messina.
Here.
Ms. Pritzio. Mr. Walton.
Here.
President Katina.
Here.
11 members are present.
Proclamations and certificates, 12799-23.
A proclamation recognizing the month of September 2023 as Love Your Library Month 2023 in Allegheny County, sponsored by Councilmember DeMarco and all other members of council.
That will be read into the record, 12800-23.
A proclamation congratulating George and Barbara Morgan on the occasion of their 60th wedding anniversary, sponsored by Councilmember Palmieri.
That will also be read into the record. Public comment on agenda items.
We have none on agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
a moment of personal privilege.
What's the personal privilege?
My concern of action taken at executive committee meeting last week.
Okay, that can be addressed in new business then.
Okay, I'll yield.
Approval of minutes?
We have none.
Okay, presentation of appointments, 12798-23.
Approving the appointment of Michelle Pianzo to the Board of Property Assessment Appeals and Review for a term to expire on December 31st, 2025, sponsored by the Chief Executive.
That will go to the Committee on Appointment Review. Unfinished business for the Executive Committee for the second reading, 12718-23.
And before proceeding, please let the record reflect that Ms. Hallam and Ms. Bennett are now present. 12718-23, a motion of the Council of Allegheny County approving the Allegheny League of Municipalities contract with the Allegheny County Council Human Resources Personnel Management and Administration Project, sponsored by Councilmember Palmieri.
This bill was inadvertently not included in the original version of this evening's agenda, so in order to Sunshine Act compliance, may I have a motion to authorize its addition to the agenda?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed?
Motion passes. Go ahead, Councilman Palmieri.
Thank you. You want me to, okay, so the motion was, on last Wednesday, we met, the executive committee met, and we passed this with an affirmative recommendation, Mr. President. I move for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Jared, please take roll.
On the motion approved, Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Betkowski?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco? Mr. Dewar?
Yes.
Ms. Filiaggi? Mr. Fatulis?
Yes.
Ms. Hallam?
No.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Macy?
No.
Ms. Nacarati-Chapkus?
What's the problem?
Mr. Palmieri?
Was there a problem, I should say?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Paul Messina?
Yes.
Ms. Pritzio?
Yes.
Mr. Walton?
No.
President Katina?
Yes.
Ayes 9, noes 3, with 3 members not present, the bill passes.
Committee on Parks for the second reading, 12786-23.
An ordinance of the County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing Allegheny County Budokai to continue to use a structure in the county's South Park for martial arts activities, sponsored by the Chief Executive.
Councilman Palmieri?
Thank you, Mr. President. Last Wednesday, we met the executive, excuse me, not the executive committee, but the, excuse me, the Parks Committee met, and we set this up to the council today with an affirmative recommendation. Move for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. let's take a roll call vote, please, Jared.
On the motion to approve, Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Betkowski?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco? Mr. Dewar?
Yes.
Ms. Filiaggi? Mr. Fatulis?
Yes.
Ms. Hallam?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Macy?
Yes.
Ms. Nacarati Chapkus? Mr. Palmieri?
Yes.
Mr. Paul Messina?
Yes.
Ms. Pritzio?
Yes.
Mr. Walton?
Yes.
President Katina?
Yes.
Ayes 12 with 3 members not present. Bill passes.
12787-23.
An ordinance of the County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing Mon Valley Express Drum and Bugle Corps to continue to use a structure in the county's South Park for marching band and music-related activities, sponsored by the Chief Executive. And please let the record reflect that Mr. DeMarco and Ms. Filiaggi are now present.
Councilman Palmieri?
Thank you, Mr. President. We met last week, the Parks Committee met last week, and this was passed with an affirmative recommendation, and I move for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Hearing none. Jared, please take roll.
On the motion to approve, Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Betkowski?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mr. Dewar?
Yes.
Ms. Filiaggi?
Yes.
Mr. Fatulis?
Yes.
Ms. Hallam?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Macy?
Yes.
Ms. Nagarati Chapkus? Mr. Palmieri?
Yes.
Mr. Paul Messina?
Yes.
Ms. Pritzio?
Yes.
Mr. Walton?
Yes.
President Katina?
Yes.
Ayes 14 with 1 member not present. The bill passes.
12788-23.
An ordinance of the County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing South Park Theater Incorporated to continue to use real property in the county's South Park for theater-related activities, sponsored by the Chief Executive.
Councilman Palmieri?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, we met last week, and this was also, we passed this along with an affirmative recommendation. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Jared, please take roll call vote.
On the motion to approve, Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Betkowski?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mr. Dewar?
Yes.
Ms. Filiaggi?
Yes.
Mr. Fatulis?
Yes.
Ms. Hallam?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Macy?
Yes.
Ms. Nacarati Chapkus? Mr. Palmieri?
Yes.
Mr. Paul Messina?
Yes.
Ms. Pritzio?
Yes.
Mr. Walton?
Yes.
President Katina?
Yes.
Ayes 14, no zero, with 1 member absent. The bill
Are
passes.
there any liaison reports this evening?
President Katina,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to give everyone an update on the Board of Elections meeting we had last week on September 19th regarding the special election coming up following the vacancy of representative, now former representative in Murado's State House seat. Director Voice said everything is prepared for that election, and all polls are currently completely staffed, and they have about 20 people scheduled as additional poll workers should they need to move people around on election day. So everything seems good to go, no flags, and they're ready for the special election. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I have a question for our Board of Elections representative, liaison, whatever.
And that.
I know that in this year's budget, we allocated funding for an I Voted sticker contest in the Elections Division budget, and I was wondering what the status of that project is.
I have not gotten any indication in any meetings we had that has moved along, but I can
Can you please?
inquire with Director Voy and the
Thank you
administration.
very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Macy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, members of council, and those in attendance. As a member of the Fire Vest Board, I just want to report that we have approved, and CCAC has approved two more curriculums, CDL driver as well as emergency medical technicians. Now, keep in mind, while we have a problem with getting volunteers in the firefighter service. Volunteers, think about it. We've put out an incentive for people to get a free college education. In addition to that, not only can you do your curriculum work, but you can also learn to be a tradesperson. And you all have heard in the news that trades are needing more and more people in their field of expertise. So if anybody is interested in becoming a firefighter, there's a bonus to becoming a volunteer firefighter, and that is a free education in almost any field that we need in this area. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? Hearing no one else?
I'll do my concern during the, as a liaison report, if that's okay.
That's fine.
This past Wednesday, the executive committee met and made a determination not to post for the position of researcher. It really caused some serious concern for me. This position had been posted over 2 years ago. And this body selected an individual, but delayed making an offer for several months. And the individual found employment elsewhere. It pains me to feel the way that I do, and to think and to have the thought that in the 8 years, almost 8 years that I've been on council, there is no diversity on the staff of council. And these are conscious decisions that we as council are making. We raise the concerns about equity and opportunity. And yet, we fail to take steps to
Mr.
promote the
President.
same.
Is this a personnel issue we should be discussing
Nick.
at a public meeting?
It is a personnel issue, but I'll allow him to continue.
Hey, look, you can
Just
call
a
it
que-
what you will, but the issue is diversity on council, on the council staff. I'm trying to not be vitriolic. I'm trying to be respectful as I can. But we've gone beyond the pale in rejecting the notion of diversity on our staff. We've made a number of hires over the years, and we've rejected any effort to have a diverse workforce. I'm not going to go away. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give in. And I'm going to call us for what we are. We are engaging in activities that border on racism. And I find it very onerous that we continue to do so.
Point of personal privilege, Mr. President.
Okay.
Yeah, I just would like to remind my colleague, Councilman Walton, that he himself chaired the executive committee for 4 years. In those 4 years, 0 diverse candidates were hired. In those 4 years, there were numerous EEOC complaints. In those 4 years, we were sued for discriminatory hiring practices. We spent God knows how much money on lawsuits defending ourselves against that. So maybe we should take a step back and allow folks to do it right instead of someone who was in the position to do it right for 4 years, not one diverse candidate hired in that time. Not one.
Response, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, and then we're ending this.
Okay. I'm glad you raised that point, because there were several hires. And with those several hires, there were African-American candidates. And what I pledged to have was that we hire the best candidate. And I openly shared among executive committee members that the African-American candidates that applied for those positions were not the best candidates. I will say to you, the candidate that was interviewed in 2021 was clearly the best candidate and acknowledged to be the best candidate. And an offer was not made for 2 months and gave her and gave another organization an opportunity to grasp them. That's our fault. That's our fault. That's what we did. I pledged that I would not walk away, I would not go quietly, and I still say, and I will not be quiet to say that we're not addressing the issue of diversity on our staff.
Thank you. Just point of clarification. So you agree with we need to hire the best candidate, but you're accusing us of racism because we delayed hiring because we want the ALUM Act to actually go through to evaluate basically our staff to see what is needed. So you're accusing us of something. We're not saying that we're not going to hire. We just delayed hiring until we know exactly what we need. And to accuse us of racism, I think that's hitting a little bit below the belt.
Mr. Chairman, it speaks for itself.
So we want the best candidate. We want the best candidate then, regardless.
When I was chair, and I will say this, when I was chair, I openly said to my colleagues that we wanted the best candidate, and this body in 2021 acknowledged that the best candidate was an African-American female. And now, wait a minute, you asked the question, let me finish, respectfully. And this body delayed, this body obfuscated, this body did not make the offer. And then until it was too late. And then we've hired since then, and we haven't addressed that concern.
But correct me if I'm wrong, you're upset about the executive committee not posting the hire, not hiring anybody right now, correct?
I said, and I continue to say, that we have no diversity on our staff. We have no diversity on our staff. We have no diversity on our staff.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm asking you a simple question. You're upset because the executive committee did not post the position, correct? That's what you started initially saying.
It chose to not do so. We need diversity on our staff.
You're confusing two different issues.
Two issues. I say we need diversity on our staff.
So basically, you're threatening basically that for us to hire somebody, we have to hire a minority. Basically, is what you're saying.
You can choose to.
That's what you're saying.
No, you can choose to dog whistle if you want to.
I'm not dog whistling. I'm just pointing. I'm just pointing the simple. It's a simple word. It's simple.
You use the word
simple.
You use the word
simple.
The fact of the matter is, I am not going to go quietly. I am not going to sit here. I am not going to sit here and not continue to raise the issue that we have no diversity on our staff.
Point of order.
This is so far out of a council meeting discussion, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
This needs to end.
Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead.
Point of order. This is getting far afield of the agenda.
Thank you. We'll move on. New business and ordinance resolution.
Mr. President, point of personal privilege. I have a proclamation here for Love Your Library Month, and I was late getting up here to the floor, but our guests are here. I was wondering if I could take and do this,
Go ahead.
do the proclamation now.
Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Also, before proceeding, please let the record reflect that Ms. Nacarati Chapkus is with us now.
Welcome, Michelle.
Would you like me to read the title, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
For a minute. Yeah.
This is Bill number 12799-23, a proclamation recognizing the month of September 2023 as Love Your Library Month 2023 in Allegheny County, sponsored by Councilmember DeMarco and all other members of council.
Folks, I'm very excited this evening to present these proclamations. Our guests today are Amy Anderson, CEO of the Allegheny County Library Association. We have Carlin Voss here, who's the Director for External and Government Relations for the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. I sit on the board there, and I think all of us understand how important reading is and how fundamental it is to being able to provide a great education, for our kids, okay? To me, it's the key for our kids to escape poverty, to be able to to grow and move forward in this world. So I'm very excited about this. So whereas today's libraries are vibrant community centers that provide information access to residents of all ages, offering innovative resources and fueling creativity and civic engagement. And whereas our libraries help children and families discover new and exciting worlds through collections, access to computers, digital resources, and special programming. And whereas all libraries in Allegheny County benefit from philanthropic gifts to supplement their annual budgets that enable them to enhance their services and programs available to all county residents. And whereas the Love Your Library campaign, which began in 2016 as a way for library lovers in Allegheny County to support their local libraries and sustain these essential services. And whereas Love Your Library Month has helped the Allegheny County Library Association and its member libraries raise awareness about the importance of its libraries, library cards, and the services available to all people in our communities. And whereas Love Your Library has been generously supported by the Jack Buncher Foundation by providing significant matching funds and promotional dollars to market the initiative, and whereas library donors have donated more than $6.7 million during the first 7 years of the Love Your Library campaign. And whereas Love Your Library has created more library advocates by encouraging customers, library board members, and staff to participate in a unifying countywide effort. And whereas Love Your Library will once again take place during the month of September 2023, and all donations made to any library in Allegheny County in September will be generously matched by the Jack Buncher Foundation. And whereas all library lovers in Allegheny County are encouraged to show their library love during the month of September 2023. Now therefore be resolved that I, Allegheny County Councilmember Sam DeMarco, and all members of council to hereby recognize the month of September 2023 as Love Your Library Month 2023 in Allegheny County. There you go.
Thank you very much, Council, for this. The Allegheny County Library Association is thrilled that it's Love Your Library Month again this year, and we want you to know that we are here to serve all of the residents of Allegheny County, just as you do, and we encourage you to visit your local libraries and show a little library love this month as well. Thank you very much.
Good evening. On behalf of the board and staff of Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, I want to thank you for this special recognition of Love Your Library Month. We have been doing this, as you heard, for several years, and we are very grateful to the Jack Buncher Foundation for providing this generous match. This is a very special month for the library, and it is also a library card sign-up month. So if you don't have a library card, I encourage you all to go to your local library and go sign up for a library card and keep reading. Thank you again for this special recognition. Appreciate it.
Let's get a picture.
Did you bring us library cards?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, this Thursday. What's going on?
Thanks for coming.
Come
get it too. We'll take that.
He's a great guy. Oh, really? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
For me, it was good. Hamstring's bad. Sure I did last night.
Okay, new business is in motion. 12801-23.
A motion of the Council of Allegheny County authorizing the President of Council to conduct public hearings pursuant to Section 801.05 of the Administrative Code on Tuesday, October 17th at 5 p.m. and Thursday, October 19th at 5 p.m. in the Gold Room of the Allegheny County Courthouse, sponsored by Councilmember Paul Messina.
Paul Messina.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries. 12802-23.
A motion of the Council of Allegheny County authorizing payment of 3 invoices for extraordinary professional services rendered as a result of litigation captioned Fitzgerald v. Allegheny County Council, sponsored by Council President Katina.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Yeah. Go ahead, Councilman.
What's exactly is it pertaining to?
The litigation
He
for
sued us about
the yes.
Okay, so we're,
defending it.
this is above and beyond
The legal fees. It's $8,070.50.
Okay.
Exact amount. Any other questions? No other questions? Jared, please take a roll call vote.
On the motion to approve, Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
Mr. Bekowski.
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco.
Yes.
Mr. Dewar.
Yes.
Ms. Filiaggi.
Yes.
Mr. Fatulis.
No.
Ms. Hallam.
Yes.
Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Mr. Macy.
Yes.
Ms. Nacarati-Chapkus.
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes.
Mr. Paul Messina.
Yes.
Ms. Pritzio. Mr. Walton. President Katina.
Yes.
Ayes 13, noes 2. The bill passes.
Public comment on general items.
We have several. First up is Maureen Norman.
And I'll have to go back and do notification of
skip the
contracts after. Just to,
Well, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
before we go, can I have a point of personal privilege?
yes, go ahead.
Before we get to public comments, I would just like to, because these shelters are closing in my district of downtown, I just wanted to make a statement about that. And since we are having a overflow of unhoused population and that is being talked about constantly downtown, just wanted to make a statement about that as well. We were insured during our public comment, our public hearing, when DHS was here and the administration was here, that there were adequate places for the unhoused population to go when the Smithfield Street shelter was closing. And obviously that was not the case. And now 2nd Street shelter is closing. And I want to know, what is the solution going to be when we already have a overflow of unhoused population in our streets of downtown. We have tents popping up in our downtown streets. If you drive in the outer skirts of downtown, you can see, I know when I drive coming from Fort Pitt Boulevard, coming up Grant Street, I see tents and tent villages, if you will. So where are these folks supposed to go if we keep closing our places for them to go to have shelter? So this is a big concern of mine because this is my district of downtown. And so these folks and my constituents are reaching out to me, including the business population in the business district, wondering what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to continue their business and continue to attract business if they're continuously having to figure out how to mitigate the unhoused population. And not to say that as though the unhoused population is some type of, vermin or anything, but these are the concerns that I am getting from the business community. And so this is something that I wanted to put on record because these are things that I'm receiving from the constituents in my community, and now we're receiving receiving information that the Second Street shelter is now closing when we just had the Smithfield Street shelter closing after we received information and word that we had adequate places for these folks to go, which was obviously not the case. And so, again, Mr. President, I just wanted to put this on record because this is something that I'm getting definitely reached out about. And so just wanted to make sure that I am putting my constituents' concerns on record. So thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
When we had the public hearing, I don't recall hearing anything about Second Avenue being closing in the near future.
I did not hear that either. So again, I actually heard that as being alternative place for Smithfield as an alternative, for a place for them to go as an alternative to Smithfield, not not that once Smithfield closed, then Second Street will be closing shortly after. So yes.
Yeah, disappointing to say the least.
The point of personal.
Go ahead.
President Katina. Yeah, I see the county manager was out there making comments when Councilmember Bennett was giving her statement, and I know that she actually and her team were the ones that came and told us not to worry about Smithfield closing because it was taken care of.
President Katina, this is out of order. Come on.
I would like to ask her if she could address Councilmember Bennett's statement. It is my own personal privilege with which I am asking that to happen. I would like to know if your comments would like to be projected to the full council, or if you could respond to Councilmember Bennett's statement, because I'm very concerned about this.
I don't want to get into.
Made aware of it all.
Point of order.
We're not getting into an exchange.
Decisions that were
Yeah,
happening.
we're not getting into an exchange about this. You can make your point of personal privilege if you want to make a statement, but we're not calling the manager up. Okay. Notification of contracts, 12804-23.
Communication summarizing approved executive actions for the month of August 2023.
Is there a motion to receive and file?
Motion to receive and file, please.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Now we can have public comment. Our first public commenter, please come up.
I'm sorry.
It was worth it. Thank you, Council. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak. My name is Marie Norman. I live in Squirrel Hill. My printer chose this opportunity to die, so I don't have any copies of my comments for you. I apologize. And I'm also going to be dependent on my phone because I couldn't print anything out. So I am here today to express my strong support for Bill 1253422, introduced by Councilman Tom Doerr. We need a fair, systematic, codified method for drawing county council districts. In fact, it's alarming to me that no such method exists, and that, as far as I understand it, county council members are responsible for drawing the lines of their own districts. Maybe we can trust the folks who are currently on council to do that fairly and honestly, but that's no guarantee about the future. You know, if Donald Trump has taught us nothing, it's that we need rules in place, not just norms, to prevent abuses of power. So please pass Bill 1253422, which was created with input from the Brennan Center for Justice and the Public Interest Law Center. And if you don't want to discuss this bill or move it forward, I would very much appreciate knowing why that is. Thank you.
Point of personal privilege. Ms. Norman mentioned that council members have the opportunity to draw their own districts. I can mention to you that the District 1, which I have, I definitely did not draw it. And I encourage you to look at the county council map, which was a collaborative effort from Councilman Doerr led that effort, along with support from his Republican colleagues. And I would ask you to look at District 1 and give me your sincere, honest opinion as to whether it is a gerrymander.
I would like to follow that with that comment very quickly to say that of the 15 members of this body during the special committee of reapportionment, Councilman Bekowski was the only member who never attended a single one of those meetings. So perhaps Councilman Bekowski would like to take his job seriously for once and attend these meetings in order to provide comment.
Get out of here, Tom.
Next public comment. Next public comment.
Next up is Donald Breitbarth, to be followed by Hannah Thomas.
Other council members.
What do you think, President?
Good evening.
Out of order?
Good evening. My name is Don Breitbarth, and I'm an academic advisor at CCAC's Allegheny campus. I also live and vote in Council District 11. That's Mr. Klein's district, along with 1,300 CCAC students. Last year, you may recall, my colleagues and I appeared before council on 3 separate occasions to encourage increased financial support for CCAC. We pointed out that Allegheny County was falling short of the mandated 33% contribution to CCAC's operating budget, and we provided examples for why increased funding was necessary. Well, you heard us. And I'd like to thank you on behalf of the college and our students for the $2.8 million increase to the county's contribution to CCAC for this year's budget. With your support, the county's contribution increased from 22 to 26%, while the students' contribution decreased from 39 to 36%. It's still not 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, but we're getting close. With another increase in funding this year from the county, we could do even more to support our students. I think we owe you a little bit of an explanation of what we're doing with the money, so I'd like to provide a few examples of what we are doing with the increased funding this year. One, we're providing more options for tutoring, both in person and online. Through a partnership with Allegheny Health Network, we're expanding mental health supports for our students across the college because we know stress, anxiety, and depression create significant barriers to learning and growth. We now have placement testing centers at each campus. This allows all of our students, no matter where they live or what their educational background is, to get scheduled and into classes more quickly before they fill up. This year, there's more money in the budget to provide bus passes for income-eligible students because we know the lack of transportation is a significant barrier for many of our students. CCAC spends about $350,000 per year for Microsoft Office licenses so our students can download software on their home computers. This year, we're using county money to pay for those licenses. These are only a few examples of how CCAC, with your generous support, has been able to reduce the financial burden on our students while improving services and supports. There's still more work to do, but we're getting close. Thanks to you. Our president, Dr. Bullock, will be here in October, and we hope you will respond positively to his budget request, which calls for additional funding. Unlike last year, AFT and college leadership have been meeting over the summer, and we're presenting a unified front this year in this budget request. Things are looking up at CCAC. Enrollment is increasing for the first time since before the pandemic, and we've been able to meet those students with more services and supports to help them succeed, thanks to you. But keep in mind, more students means more need. We hope you can count on us. We hope we can count on you again this year. Now, my colleagues are going to tell you a little bit more about their programs at the college and how you might be able to help us next year.
Thank you. Next.
Next up is Hannah Thomas, to be followed by Rebecca DuPont.
Hello, my name's Hannah Thomas. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all this evening in regards to CCAC and some of our goals that we have. I live in Plum Borough, which is in District 8, so Ms. Nakarati-Takis, nice to meet you. My neighbor, Amy McMasters, shout out from her. I don't know if that's gonna hurt or help us. I am a lifelong Pittsburgher. I started my college education at CCAC. My experience was wonderful. I had great teachers. I was cared for. I was supported. And compared to my university experience, it was the best college experience that I had. I remember most working in the cafeteria with my friends on homework assignments together and collaborating together with each other. Now, I wouldn't be a teacher if I didn't ask you all to do something, because otherwise I know you're not listening to me. So for 15 seconds, and I will time you, I want to ask you to please think about an academic experience that you personally feel was the best or most conducive to real, meaningful learning when you were a college student. 15 seconds, starting now.
Psychology.
Sorry, I did not give enough direction here. This is rhetorical.
That's my best class, psychology.
15 seconds is up, and I feel confident enough to guess that most of you were probably not thinking about sitting in your classroom, staring at your teacher in the front of the room. More than likely, you were thinking about a time when you were working directly with faculty or other students. Whether you visualized the library, a common area, a computer lab, you probably felt that the time you spent engaged in the actual active learning with classmates and faculty was the most beneficial to your learning experience. We in the English and critical reading disciplines are working really hard to make big updates to our literacy courses, and we would like to have a space such as that at every campus at CCAC. As you know, every student at CCAC is welcome regardless of any prior education, and we serve thousands of students each year that need support in basic reading comprehension and writing skills. These are our most vulnerable and needy students, and reading and writing labs, which we would like to open at each campus, is a especially important need for these students. In these spaces, students can come at their convenience for access to computers, textbooks, supports from experts in the reading and writing fields, and instructors can bring entire class sections to these spaces for the use of library resources and support completing complex research. Lastly, these spaces are necessary for critical thinking and to foster higher order thinking skills that college students, not to mention functioning members of society, need to be successful. We're a community college. We meet the students where they are and help them rise up. And we need your support in order to help us fulfill our mission. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Next.
Next up, Rebecca DuPont, followed by Robert Koch.
All right, first off, I'd like to start off by thanking County Council for your time today. Again, I am Dr. Rebecca DuPont. I am an associate professor and the coordinator of multimedia communications at North Campus in Mr. Bukowski's district. Now, I have also been a lifelong resident of Allegheny County, and I currently reside in Gibsonia in Ms. Prizio's district as well. So I want to thank you all for your previous financial support, and we hope that we will continue to gain your support. Now, my background is that I've worked in computer science, arts, and multimedia for over 20 years. And we currently are facing a technological evolution that has affected all of these areas, which is the cloud computing. And with this, if we can get cloud computing at CCAC, this could help alleviate the need for specific local resources for our students. More specifically, that if we integrate cloud capabilities at CCAC, all students will be able to access and work with the required software and hardware for their course. Both a student that has a Chromebook at $100, but also a student who can afford a laptop at $3,000, they would have equitable access to all of the requirements for their courses to be successful. On the IT side of CCAC, this also provides us protection. This also enables us to have environments that students can actually learn, play in, and make mistakes. I'm sure you all can imagine that if any of you have had an experience, you probably learned more from this mistake than when you did something correctly the first time through. So cloud computing is already being integrated into the four-year institutions in Allegheny County. So by having it at CCAC as well, what we are going to be able to do is prepare the students who would like to transfer into four-year institutions, and they will be able to just dive right into their classes as juniors. However, on the flip side, though, another element of CCAC, as Mr. Macy was talking about, is apprenticeships. With apprenticeships, as far as the cloud system is concerned, we would be able to have students have access to thousands of dollars worth of software and hardware. For example, I also oversee the Shell Game Apprenticeship Program, which we recently presented to Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis. However, along with cloud computing and giving this access to all of our students, it would also support Governor Shapiro's workforce training initiative for the students who do not want to go on to a four-year institution. So with this, I would like to also point out that a lot of people hear cloud computing and you think of STEM. However, it isn't just STEM. You have to start thinking in terms of STEAM. As an artist, and a programmer simultaneously. We have to stop thinking of cloud computing and software, and more so also how it can be assistant to graphic designers, artists, instructional designers, but also still computer scientists. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Next up is Robert Koch, followed by Tanisha Long.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Cook. I am an automotive instructor at the West Hills campus of the Community College of Allegheny County. I've been with the college over 35 years. I'm also a resident of Hampton Township, Ms. Prizio's district over there, and a North Hills grad. You know, back in, I hate to admit how many years ago, but a good education at that point, so it is what it is. And by the way, thank you for supporting the funding increase last year at the community college. It has been greatly appreciated. As a department chair overseeing trade programs for over 25 years, I believe we have some of the most comprehensive, affordable educational training programs anywhere in Allegheny County. The trade programs at CCAC provide the opportunity for students to have great jobs with family-sustaining wages upon graduation, whether it be automotive, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning, building maintenance, plumbing, mechatronics, welding, and many others. The issue we have is trying to keep up with the ever-changing technology in many of these trades. As industries change, the training must also change, and herein lies the problem. These changes and upgrades cost money. Lots of money. I'll use my automotive program as an example. With all of the green technologies in pursuit of cleaner air, we're quickly changing from a gasoline-powered form of transportation, to another form, whether it be hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or electric vehicles, or both. Look at how many hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and electric vehicles and electric charging stations you currently see out there. And many more are on the horizon. We must be able to train our students so that they can safely diagnose and repair these vehicles. The cost of the vehicles to practice on, diagnostic equipment, and repair tools are very expensive. And without additional funding support that goes directly to these needs, our students are not prepared to enter the job market. This example can be applied to all trades, not just automotive. Any additional funding support goes a long way to helping the college with the technical challenges we face, which is constantly upgrading. I want to thank the council for listening, and if you'd like to learn more or discuss these issues further, please feel free to reach out. If your schedule permits, we have an event at the West Hills Center on October 6th. It is called Odyssey Day. It's an event where we promote, in partnership with Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities, cleaner, greener modes of transportation. We'll have many different types of alternative fueled vehicles on display. It is free and open to the public. I've had Rich Fitzgerald in the past come and speak at this event. We also feed you breakfast and lunch for those that don't have a chance to eat. It's open from 9 a.m. to 2:30, and it's a great opportunity to see what the trade programs at the community college have to offer, and how we are connected, through these partnerships with the community. We also have some great speakers. For more information, you can go to the Pittsburgh Region Clean City website. We hope to see you there, and again, thanks for considering your support and additional support for the community college. I promise you, it means a lot to the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Tanisha Long.
I'm a little shorter. Hi, Tanisha Long here. I wanted to address council today about a recent Pittsburgh Institute for Nonprofit Journalism article discussing the Schumann Center. I had spoken about juvenile detention and the Schumann Center before, and our concern that the county would try to privatize it, and we would end up in another situation like the Kids for Cash scandal, or we would end up in a situation where the county has no control over how our kids are being treated in these juvenile detention centers. From my understanding and what the article said, Adelphoi was going to be one of the places, is one of the places that we're planning to have run these private beds that are being opened up. If council members are aware, Adelphoi is currently engaged in multiple lawsuits for sexual abuse, harassment, and assault of minors. On 2 occasions listed in that lawsuit, the same staff member was able to transfer between Adelphoi campuses and sexually assault minors. Kids have brought up allegations of abuse, physical assault, gang activity, and this has been going on for over 20 years. As someone who pays taxes in Allegheny County and in the city of Pittsburgh, I find it extremely alarming that taxpayers are being asked to fund this type of abuse. I know that we were supposed to have a juvenile justice investigatory committee where we would hear from experts and we would get some public buy-in and weigh in on what happens to the kids in this county. From my understanding, you guys haven't had an opportunity to get that off the ground yet. And I would like to offer the Abolitionist Law Center is willing to help with that and give some advice about what happens to kids in these detention centers. The Juvenile Law Center would be great for that. But it seems your county executive does not respect your authority on council and does not respect what the community is saying enough to put the brakes on this until we can get some outside opinions. And it feels as though this is being done in a way that is quiet. It's done in a way that we are able to sneak this type of detention center in. It's done in a way to get around the ask from county council, from the public, that we not privatize this. And just by contracting out these beds, it's the same thing as selling Schumann in private. It's the same thing. And I know Rich Fitzgerald's not concerned with what the public thinks, but I would hope that you guys who are elected to represent us would care that we don't want our kids being sold to a company that has multiple federal lawsuits for sexual assault, physical assault, and not training and teaching kids or taking care of the kids in their care. They're being accused of psychological abuse and torture. These are not things I want my money going towards. So I strongly urge County Council to hold a public hearing on this and to engage with your community partners who know a lot more about this subject than the county executive and many members on County Council. Thank you.
We did have one individual sign up late, Carlos Thomas. He's not here? Never mind.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Second? Is there a second?
Thank you.
Say aye.
Aye.
Forever. It has. It's so nice seeing you. Good to see you there. And every once in a while.